and the coup in the Central African Republic. Our guests tonight, Dr. Arthur Bainomugisha, head of the Peace and Security Program at ACODE, also lecturer in Makerere of Peace and Security Studies. You're most welcome, Dr. Arthur.
Thank you. Good evening, listeners.
Also joined by Honorable Charles Rwomushana, former head of political intelligence at State House. You're most welcome, Honorable Charles Rwomushana.
The Almighty God is great.
And Mr. Nicholas Opiyo, legal consultant at AKIJUL, also a senior commentator on social and political affairs. You're most welcome, Nicholas.
Thank you very much. Good evening to my fellow panelists and good evening to all the listeners.
We're also joined by Imam Kasozi, a Muslim cleric, also lecturer at the Islamic University in Uganda. You're most welcome, Imam Kasozi.
Thank you. Good evening. It is always a pleasure to be at Radio 1.
Now, this week we kicked it off with the DP President Robert Mao facing the anger of young activists in the Democratic Party. He tried to block their group UID from holding elections. At Nambole, police was deployed. They couldn't hold the elections there, but they went to another place and held the elections. They got new leadership, including Brendan Abu Kenya, a former stalwart, some former close associate of Norbert Mao's. Honorable Edmund Kizito, who handed over the reins of power in that party to Norbert Mao, was there as well. Now, Mr. Nicholas Opiyo, is this, what do you make of this standoff? Is it a vote of no confidence in Norbert Mao by the entire group, the young and the old? Where is it?
First, it is important to declare my interest because of my personal relationship with Norbert Mao. I may not be as objective. But that said, two things come to mind. The Democratic Party, in spite of being the oldest political party in this country, it's the farthest from ever attaining power. You don't have to look very far. These are some of the reasons why the Democratic Party has remained, an old man without children, without any power to show. Really, at first they were dismissed as a Buganda party, as a Catholic party. Nobody has conceived or perceived DP in much better light than within the Central Region and within the Catholic establishment. Even within the Catholic establishment, it's majorly the Buganda Catholics. And you can hear the sentiments of some of the things that are being said in the run-up to this fallout between Norbert Mao and the UID. In my view, I think it's an overall question of the character of our parties, people who join parties. In my own reading, I think there's a lack of conviction, a lack of commitment to a common cause. People join parties for convenience, and when and if it is important to advance their own goals, they will do anything to do that, irrespective of what the national good or the common good is. That's exactly what is bedeviling DP. You have, a group that, in spite of being 56 years, still hold offices as young Democrats. I don't know what the criteria for young is. But you also have a party that is now being led for the first time by somebody outside Buganda, and whose leadership from the very beginning has been bedeviled with a lot of conflicts, a lot of confusion. That very same leader has, in many ways, failed to unite the party. You would think that somebody who rose to office on the back of a contested election, his first duty would be to try and reach out and reconcile the party and rally people around a common agenda. So while on the other hand you have, people who have long outlived their youth trying to use the UID for their own ends, you also have a party leader who has, in my view, been unable to unite the people in his party and galvanize them around a common agenda. It is exactly what you see in UPC. Any internal dispute within UPC is being blamed on the NRM. Any dispute in the FDC said, we have been infiltrated. Now you hear, for the very first time, the DP is saying, look, this is Bestige, FDC. And I think that for me doesn't augur well for the future of parties in this country. The lack of convergence on a common agenda that bedevils this country, on issues of misgovernance and misrule bedeviling this country, it does even make the ugly woman in the room very beautiful when such women begin to shed blood.
Well, I also have to declare my personal interest. Norbert Mao is a personal friend of mine. We went to school with him. We were in the same class at the same time for about 3 years, actually. Charles Rwomushana, police was at Nambole to block this. Is that involvement above board?
You see, I don't need to declare any interests.
You have none.
Mine is to go on the issues the way they are and be sure of my objectivity. this is what I see. One, that Mugisha describes Vestige's mode of politics, this civil disobedience, walk to work, etc., as monkey politics.
When did you say that?
Yeah.
On NTV, actually, on the spot.
Monkey politics. Now, there is a source that I don't need to say on radio who intimated to me that this was Mugisha statement, that on the days of Nevanda, whereas some elements in the NRM were bringing the president on the scene of crime, and therefore the uproar in parliament, the politics it was taking, when they asked to allow the organs of FDC to join the chorus, he said, this is not the Museveni I know. Killing in Nevanda, this is not the Museveni I know. If you want to go and say it, go, but not the organs of the what? The organs of the party. Now, functionally, strategically speaking, this is what NRM would love. This is what it practiced for the last 20 years when political parties were in abeyance. That you can hold press conferences,
like flags.
You can be in your meetings in hotels. This is what he loves most on parties now. Basically, knowing what Museveni doesn't like at all is what he was trying to do. And
was behind the UID.
Now, so in this, I'm giving you the other background.
Yeah.
But for want of time, now Wesley was trying to rejuvenate himself
through UID.
Through UID to create a different program, of course, for the other agenda of it's now forgotten country something. And now there is a dialogue between Mugisha and Mao. Have a different program, but that program is anti-Besigye. And you know that wherever there is any sentiment that is anti-Besigye, the NRM collapses. That is why Mbide is now in the East African Legislative Assembly, received more votes than even NRM candidates in the other election, and even received a standing ovation in an NRM-dominated parliament, because then DP had become a branch of NRM, but based at Mao's group had become a branch of NRM, but based at City House. Mugisha now is a branch of NRM, but based in Naja and Nkumbi, these are different brands, and that is why there is one commonality between the two.
It's quite a good analysis. That's
there is something that is a commonality between the two. Where if you are an NRM dissident against President Museveni within NRM, police is used as a whip. They have a chief whip in the parliament, but outside, those that have been critical, charges are brought against them. That is the similarity between the Besigye group of the Rwomushana. They walk, they get charged, and the NRMs, they also talk, and whatever they also get charged. Now you see the same tool being given to Mao, that he makes a statement and the police goes to enforce it. In other words, he's now becoming a real now president, because he's now being given tools. That is full evidence that he has become an established branch. And what does this mean?
An NRM person.
It's already NRM. His function now is an NRM branch at City House. So what does this mean? It means the total collapse of the two parties, i.e. the FDC and NRM. So and DP. What DP survived during in the name of Sevagara, it has now properly gotten it in the name of Honorable Mao. Actually, you forget about those institutions. So you are going to see an emergence of another third institution. But those ones, just forget about them.
Dr. Arthur.
Charles,
don't hold your head. Speak to us.
Wow. Anyway, Charles has his analysis. I haven't really focused on that, but just to say that because Mugisha Muntu's method or mode of politics is not like Besigye's, doesn't mean that FDC has actually become an NRM. I think these are different people. They came into power with different manifestos and promises, and I think Mugisha Muntu wants to become his own man, and I think he should be entitled to that. But when we look at what is happening and I think FDC, we can see that he has been able to hold it together. There hasn't been a major fallout, even when he came into office, through that kind of disagreement. In the case of Norbert Mao, of course, DP continues to be besieged by divisions, and I think the time for DP to die has come. The Yes.
Oh, we should call a funeral services.
I'm telling you,
undertakers.
DP is likely. It's actually right now is on oxygen, and Norbert Mao, I think he focused largely on to become a leader of the party. That one he achieved 10 years actually of struggle, but I think he never planned for the aftermath when he gets that top job.
Planned for a wedding, not the marriage.
Yeah, I think his post-election was not planned. I think is it Nicholas or someone who's been talking about so anyway, let me stop that. but secondly, I think we also see the collapse. We cannot celebrate the collapse of these the failure of political parties in the country, because it is an indicator of something bad that is likely to happen. Because when political parties, when the opposition is becoming weak, and largely because of poverty, there is too much poverty in the opposition, and because of
poverty of ideas.
Poor people cannot be at peace and harmony. Poor people always attack each other. So what you see there is a characteristic of actually disaffected youth, disorganized, hopeless, and devouring at each other. And I think Mao has failed to breathe in that lease of life, and so you see that radicalization. But also it also shows actually lack of internal democracy in DP. And I think Norbert Mao should try now to. I think they need to sit back. They need to sit back and organize an OD. An organization of development, yes, to renew themselves, renew their mandate, rejuvenate themselves. Or DP will just
calling the funeral services. Imam Kasozi, would you agree that Mao actually failed to deliver? He sat on the throne and that was it. He began to doze off.
I want to start from where Doctor has stopped by saying that the problem to me is the people who join these political parties in this country, they are not really politicians. They are position seekers. And because they are seeking positions, whenever they don't get positions, very many people, quickly they lose out. And they are hanging they are just on the fence trying to say, where do I fall? That's why you find that in a period of only about 10 years or so, Sebagala is with DP strong. Sebagala says he's with Besige. Sebagala shifts to President Museveni. Political party then shifts. From the political party, and Sebagala goes to President Museveni. So that is the weakness. What is the problem? Many Ugandans are not sure of themselves. They don't trust themselves. They don't believe in themselves. And therefore, they don't trust others. They don't think that you can deliver something when they are not in the press. So, this is the issue. Democratic Party, I can't speak for it, but I am worried. I said it before, that the way it started with one of the most powerful political men in this country, Benedicto Chwanuka, and his shoes have become too big for whoever has come to take over the mantle of this political party. And in order to neutralize Chwanuka, people said that he as a Mukopi demanded or called that
a Mukopi means a common animal in your family, not in the royal lineage.
He invited the king to his place, and therefore they demonized the youth, and we lost that opportunity, and people may continue like this. So, experiences we are seeing are a sign of people looking for positions. I call upon Ugandan politicians, those who are in politics. First of all, don't position yourselves in for positions. Position yourself for the betterment of the country. You will survive and be happy therein.
Let's move forward. Doctor, let's talk about the marriage and divorce bill. It has been shelved for 3 months. Then in its wake we have the anti-pornography bill. The MPs were away for consultations. They were given, or supposed to have been given, 5 million shillings only. But now the bill is put in abeyance. Now this anti-pornography bill, no miniskirts apparently at some stage. You don't know who will measure them. What do you read in all this? Why did the marriage bill fail to get through this time, and what do you think? What chances do you think it has on its return?
Yeah, I think the marriage and divorce bill was politicized. was not marketed very well from the very word go. And the marriage now, of course, this proves that the marriage is a very, very sensitive issue in this country. We thank God for that, because Uganda likes marriage. Marriage is a serious institution, and I know as Africans we've survived because of strong families. So it has suffered largely because, first, I think the government itself was not prepared when they presented this bill. It was poorly marketed. As you can see, marriage and divorce bill really doesn't.
The sentiment, the spirit
and that actually was
it's a little bit casual.
It was very, very casual. It cannot save. So the pornography, I think, is also diversionary. My take is that actually here government is trying to use the anti-pornography bill to manage the sentiments, cool the situation raised by the marriage and divorce.
Will it sail through, do you think? And in what format?
My view is that the marriage and divorce.
No, the anti-pornography bill. First of all, the marriage. Do you think it will come back, and what shall we have in there? And the anti-pornography bill.
I think finally this bill is going to. Certainly we need this law. And I remember my friend here last night. He said we need this law, but it needs to be taken back, repackaged, and brought back, because the spirit seems like it's about the sharing of resources in the marriage. People do not get married to share resources in the marriage, but to have love for each other and
share everything.
And to share everything.
My body I give you and everything that
exactly.
I have.
But you see, the spirit here was like people are going there to grab other people's properties. It was very counterproductive.
Charles Rwomushana, why do you think the marriage bill? Let's talk about the pornography bill. Let's forget about the marriage. Let's talk about the pornography bill. Do you think it's going to come through?
You see, all of these issues are issues that capture religious institutions and cultural institutions, and these are the ones that have the masses that influence public opinion. Now, if you went for the Prime Minister, this scandal in the Prime Minister's office, the churches have always been on the front line, and to some extent the cultural institutions. If you went on oil and gas, remember when we had that debate, now we are having the public finance bill, which is now on table.
And one newspaper I've seen says it's going to be to legalize corruption.
Yes, so now we have that bill, and the ones in some of the clauses in that bill relate on sharing oil revenue, mainly for those oil areas. They would now be involved in that debate. Of course, even how about the areas that do not have oil? Of course, will also be coming up. Now, so what do? You now divert them. So the only way you divert them, you bring a bill that is going to raise the antennas of the religious institutions and, to some extent, the cultural institutions. Now, this is why you have the divorce and marriage bill first. It has raised the tempo, and then you bring this bill. Now, so the purpose of bringing this bill, therefore, is to divert public opinion or public debate from public finance bill, and also, remember, now there is also the Nantaba operations on land. Actually, she's doing a big.
The woman from Kayunga.
Yes. What is going on in the villages? The people they're being resettled on land. They are acquiring land and resettling people, and they are doing a lot of mass mobilization. Whichever the way. So there is debate here in the radio. Then there is also debate of the struggles within NRM. So you are seeing in the media to do with Red Pepper and I think Observer, President Museveni's battles with Honorable Mbabazi, and then you have the expulsion of the members of parliament, those who have been critical of the Sichku and group. Now, and then there is the trial of Kazina. Of course, the trial of Kazina, public would have been interested in knowing the role Kazina played in getting money, because he's now in the defense. Is he going to say anything? So you now keep the public away from.
You need a cloud.
You keep the public away from. Of course, I want to call those the real issues. So it is. So the only way, and then there is insecurity. These killings that have been going on, and since we haven't seen the parading of those who have been killing, probably they may also continue. So so you divert, because these are critical. They can mobilize the masses to very serious, very dangerous levels. So you divert them. Then meanwhile, you also give money for investment to some other institutions that are culture that have been problematic. So they are now very busy in investment and management of those investments. I don't need to mention their names. So now the operation is Operation Divert.
Operation Divert.
Operation Divert. And that's why we are now discussing it. Instead of discussing what did Kazinda say in the trial during his defense, we are not discussing that. We are not following up what did Onzima. What has happened? We are not following that. They are not bringing the trial over the Monsis. Otherwise, if you bring the trials over the Monsis, then you will be bringing back the Nantaba case. You are not having
Nantaba, the lady from
Never. If you bring the trial of those fellows who have been arrested, alleged for these murders, including my priest in Mbarara and others, then you will be bringing back the debate. So those ones you arrest, you say have arrested, but you don't bring for trial. Otherwise, the media will be following that. Now you bring the pornography, and it's involving skirts, and so you're going to be having girls jumping up and down, and the public will be there, and then a year goes, the third year goes, and then we go for elections and we win.
This is Spectrum from Radio One. Going for a break. These are piece of individuals, not those of these radio stations. We'll be back. Stay tuned.
There are those who sit around waiting for things to happen, but then there are those who make things happen. Take a closer look. While some people follow trends, there are those who set them. While many people dream of what could be, there are those who make their dreams a reality. While some people make a name for themselves, there are those who also leave a legacy. These people have a unique drive that enables them to make things happen. And they all choose a beer that has a unique ingredient, crystal malt, releasing the richer, full flavor that makes Nile Gold Uganda's true premium lager. Nile Gold, beyond the ordinary.
Not for sale to persons under 18.
MTN, everywhere you go.
Be a standout, be the star now and let your light shine through.
The Uganda Communications Commission invites entries for the 3rd ASIA Awards, scheduled for June the 7th, 2013. Visit www.ucc.co.ug/awards for information on the categories and criteria. Deadline for entries is April the 30th, 2013. ASIA, ICT Innovation for National Development.
So I'm chilling at home with my crew. The boys are waiting to watch the game on the telly, but the chicks want to go to the beach. So how do we play it? I glance across the room. Eye contact is made. A plan is hatched. Pete will get some sand. Lots of it. Jeff will take care of the deco, Tim the entertainment, and I the clubs. And so we bring the beach to the apartment. If we can't go to the beach, we bring the beach to us. It's just how we do.
It's not about where you're at. It's the difference you bring. Get a fresh take on things. Club is brewed longer for easier drinking. Brewed slower for great taste. Club, tastefully different. Not for sale to persons under the age of 18.
Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90.
Welcome back on Spectrum. Tonight we review the week. Our guests. We've been looking at the standoff in the Democratic Party. Some people think he was focused on the wedding and forget about the marriage. He got into the DP presidency, but he was not able to do much. The young Turks have taken over. Apparently, the mod and the old Turks apparently are also supporting them. Dr. Honorable Sebana Kizito was with the UIUI yesterday as the immediate former president. We spoke about the marriage and divorce bill and the anti-pornography bill. We'll still talk about that a little bit more before we move forward. Our guests tonight, Dr. Dr. Arthur Bainomugisha, head of the Peace and Security Program at ACODE, also lecturer on Peace and Security at Makerere. Honorable Rwomushana, former head of political intelligence at State House, also a former Constituent Assembly delegate. Mr. Nicholas Opiyo, legal consultant at AKIJUL, also commentator on political and social affairs. Imam Kasozi, Muslim cleric and lecturer at the Islamic University in Uganda. Nicholas Opiyo, talk to us about this bill, the marriage and divorce bill. Will it see the light of day? And the anti-pornography bill, what format will we see it passed in India?
The marriage and divorce bill has really, in my view, exposed the hypocrisy in a large part of state functionaries. Listening to the debate, you might think this bill is a private member's bill. You might not even remember that this bill was tabled by the Honorable John Nasasira. The president attending an Easter prayer, I think, in Western Uganda, said he wasn't consulted. You ask yourself, who chairs cabinet? You know, is cabinet really an entity that exists?
The president, let me cut you short briefly. He had a written speech. I have a copy of that, where he said this so-called marriage and divorce bill. He technically disowned this bill.
Yes, and so you perhaps would want to ask him if he still had cabinet, because that's a government bill, really. Eh? But the fact is that this bill, the mischief that this bill seeks to cure, is real, and we've got to cure it. And this bill, if we're honest, has to pass. I know the amount of effort invested by the Law Reform Commission over a period of over 10 years. Remember, this bill first came as a marriage and the family domestic relations bill. There was a bit of disagreement. We went back to consult. It was then split. Now we have the marriage and divorce bill, and we want more consultations. I think that's pure dishonesty. Subjecting issues of fundamental human rights to popular, vote, popular demand, I think, in my view, is being utterly dishonest, because an illiterate man in the village doesn't understand much about equality of women and men in marriage. For him, it's about the patriarchy of society. Man is more powerful. But I've made the point about this bill, and I support this bill. I think it has to pass. I think government must stop its dishonesty and address the issues and deliver, because this is really the last piece of emancipation to women. Really, it's the last.
Are you sure we are there?
It's the last, not the end of history, but women's emancipation in this country is legislated as opposed to empowering. Okay, they are at the table because we've passed laws to allow them to be at the table. This is the last bit that addresses issues of inequalities in marriage. So in my view, it's a useful bill. It has got to be implemented. Passed. On the pornography bill, and then this, I might be very unpopular. I have a different opinion, and then this opinion goes back to history. When the AIDS scourge in Uganda broke out, Uganda was hailed as a success story. When Uganda approached this debate from a very objective, we're giving out condoms, teaching people. Then around about the turn of the century, you had a very interesting development. The infusion of Pentecostal American evangelism movement into the government affairs that then significantly changed the AIDS policy, and then subsequently removing condoms, talking about abstinence. We've gone back to, again, bad infection rates for HIV/AIDS. Pornography is just...
It reversed the gains on AIDS.
It did, significantly. Now, what you have in pornography is laden with undertones of religious sentiment. I'm not saying religion is a bad idea, but the fact that state policies for a secular country appears to take that kind of angle with Reverend Father Lukodo. I don't know if God is happy with him or whatever, but the point is that religious influence on government policies, as you've seen with the HIV/AIDS scourge, has a negative impact.
Well, let's look at negativity here. It might have been negative on the other one. Where is the negativity this side? If it's trying to...
You see, pornography...
Are you saying pornography is good?
Well, the consumption of pornography is not something you're going to legislate. I can sit on my laptop and watch porn if I want to.
Would you display pornography on the streets?
Pastor Sempa is showing pornography in churches. Pastor Sempa is showing pornography in churches.
What does he do?
People having sexual intercourse. Yes, he did show a homosexual intercourse in church. A homosexual intercourse in church.
I have no information on that.
He did.
Let's look at the bill. Let's look at that's all I said. Let's look at the whole bill. Let's look at the boundaries that they're trying to draw on pornography. You can't, dress indecently in public, expose your private parts. You can't, print it, publish it. What's wrong with that?
You see, the thing is this: it's not this. Should law regulate morality? Of course. Is that something you can actually enforce? My view is
you will be concerned about enforcement.
My view is I'm deeply concerned about cosmetic, sentimental, emotional legislation that may never see the light of day.
Very briefly on that.
I think, Nicholas, Uganda's motto says, "For God and my country." Uganda is a religious country, and I think across the religious denominations in this country, we are a religious country based on the motto and our constitution. And because of that, legislating for morality of this country to protect our children against that onslaught of Western values, I think becomes imperative even for our survival.
Imam Kasozi, talk to us. Walking on the streets with your children on Saturday afternoon, and they see all these newspapers. Talk to us about that, wider.
I think somebody says religion. My colleague says the religion, and it's wrong. What is the purpose of religion, and what is the role of religion? To serve people, help them, and religion. Yes, religion. Of course, religion has a culture. That's why myself, I have my traditional culture, but I prefer to move with the Islamic culture because I embraced Islam wholly.
Go on.
So, the same religion wants these people. So the reason why we think there should be some order in probably not allow pornography probably, is because we want to bring up a society that sees the future.
All right.
So
with a clear lens.
So religion helps to shape. And the bad thing is that it is when it is misused.
All right.
It may be very dangerous.
Okay, let's move forward because of the time. Thank you very much. You made very, very strong points there. Let's talk about the stand between security and Muslim clerics. The arrest of several Muslim clerics. You've issued a statement yourself. Well, it's been issued by the Ghana Muslim Youth Assembly, saying, you signed it, condemning or attacking the arrest of. What's going on, Imam Kasozi? Is there something that we're not being told? Talk to us about that. Imam, why are they being rounded up? They are training young children into Islamic radicalism. Why? What should we do?
I don't know what people call Islamic radicalism. Because what they are talking about
from Christian radicalism actually.
What they are talking about? They are talking about something called madrasa. And madrasa is an Arabic word which means school or class. Okay? In this country, Muslim education rotated around the madrasa. What was the reason? To protect their children in the way they should believe. And they had been threatened by the colonial government and education at that time when some leading people had changed from Islam. And to a Muslim, if you change from Islam, it is a very big thing. And therefore, what the Muslims did was say, no, we can do without that education and keep our religion. And strongly, all Muslims, including myself, has gone to school. I can tell you anything that is undermining Islam, the teachings of Islam, I cannot appreciate it because
you can even die for it.
I cannot appreciate it because I believe that the rest of what we do will end here, but religion will pass on. So, what do you people call standoff? If you look at this, at what is going on, the police, instead of doing police work, it is doing some political work. And in so doing, it confuses the people. And you hear, even on the larger political scene of this country, police officers doing this work. Then the other thing is that, what are we concerned with? We are saying if people have committed crimes, they should be handled according to the law of this country, not the indiscriminate way of doing it. And they arrest a person. He's arrested by either an ISOBA, a CMI, or whatever. Then police to Chireka, to Kololo, to Umbuya, okay, and sometimes to unknown places.
All right.
So we are asking the police.
Okay.
If you find, for example, they are saying they are closing these schools because they are not properly organized. What has government done to organize the school system in this country?
Dr. Arthur, what's government afraid of?
No, I think first of all, I want to limit my my analysis to terrorism and madrasas, actually in Pakistan and Afghanistan. The madrasas have been actually schools of radicalization of youth in those parts of the
That is not true.
Of the world.
It is a lie.
Wait. And that's why I want to limit myself, because recently on television we saw children, very young children, I think on average at the age of like 6, 7,
yes.
In some house in very appalling conditions, yes. Which actually I think the security agencies stormed, and of course the children were in a pathetic kind of. But I think we have to. There's a lot to understand, and especially Islam. But from the international perspective, madrasas, like in Pakistan as we know it, have been areas of radicalization of the youth, and a lot of interviews have been done on these children. And the education that is given actually is very poor. It is very poor in the sense that actually you are training these children to the Quran, and you are not. No, I'm saying Quran per se, because then you see, like in Nigeria, the Boko Haram. The Boko Haram, actually, there's a lot of training in the madrasas now, which people think they think Boko Haram now with those madrasas. Let me be a bit independent, my brother. The point is, it is the role of the government to provide education for its citizens. They have that responsibility to give quality education to the citizens. And what they can do actually, like I see in most, they mix actually, there is Christian faith, there is actually Islam, there is a package. I see my children coming to school with homework, where they are actually asking Muhammad where he was born, the flight to Medina, and that kind of thing. If I was government here, I would want to look at the quality that is of education being given in Madrasa. If it is pure the Quran, let's work because of the time.
Charles, let's hear from you. I need to
my children have babies. One is in nursery, Alpha, kindergarten, and another one is in Rwomushana. But they are taught to cram the Birko verses. The cram, actually, which is not supposed to be the level of those children.
Well, I have a child in Rwomushana. I'm not aware of it.
Your kids go to good school, folks. Come on. Your kids go to good school.
Your children are in Rwomushana.
I have a child in we cram, they do all this.
You call it cramming, but anyway, go ahead.
Go on,
yes. So I don't see anything wrong with those who believe in Islam having their children learn the Quran. Because the Quran is a very peaceful book. It's a spiritual book. It's a holy book. It's religious. Believe in it, live. But those who want, allow them access. Because it does not threaten. It does not create crime. The book, Quran, does not create crime. Yes. Yeah, if you misinterpret it, that's your own business. Because you can also misinterpret it. Now, the other thing is, so they are taught the goodness of Jesus Christ. Our children are taught the goodness of Jesus Christ, how he died for us, and
I know that.
And remember, Rwomushana is not a Christian.
For God's sake. Now let me withdraw the statement on Rwomushana. It shouldn't die matter.
It's not a Christian school. Let's teach everything.
Well, even Kampala parents have children at Kampala parents. They teach both secular.
I'm talking about
Islam. What's the problem?
No, I think you emphasize.
And that's why I was told why they bring these debates and they divert him.
Maybe let's make a quick
let me finish my point, because I'm not protected. I'm not protected.
Go.
And there is a point I'm trying to raise, because you brought
very briefly.
So Now, where the security makes a mistake, in my own view, is to arrest this, but under terrorism.
That's correct.
If they are doing something wrong, probably the school is not registered, probably the syllabus is not helping the children,
National Council of Higher Education,
whatever it is, because there is a they have talked about which didn't give quality PhDs, then move under a different law. But to say that you have kids of 4 years and you are teaching them terrorism presupposes the throwing of bombs. I mean, you need you.
Let's hear from Nicholas.
If I may,
Nicholas Opiyo, you have.
I think that we have given our Muslim brothers a raw deal. The Constitution provides for the creation of Qadi courts. It's how many years? They're not Qadi courts. Every bad thing seems to be linked or associated with what I think, in my view, a very peaceful religion. The Quran is one of the most beautiful books you can ever read. Beautiful work of poetry, conviction, teaching of peace. But I think that we have bedeviled Muslims and kind of made them synonymous to all the bad things, terrorism. These sentiments espoused by the doctor appear popular, but I think it's very short on facts. Because then if about the madrasas in Pakistan, because if you then put that on a weighing scale, I think that Muslim.
No, it's all right. Let's Nicholas Opiyo.
Yes,
please continue. Let him continue. Nicholas, please go.
Thank you very much, sir. Now, if you then weigh the good thing that Muslim stands for against the bad things, there are as much radical Muslims as there are as much radical Christians who ban the Quran in the US. But there isn't such much version about Christians as it is about the Muslims. I think we're giving our Muslim brothers a good deal.
We need to move forward.
I think I want to
let's come back to Charles Rwomushana. We'll do that another time. Let's talk about the 15th human rights record. Charles Rwomushana.
this man are choosing. I don't have
Charles Rwomushana. All right. Charles Rwomushana. The Ghana Human Rights Commission issued a report. Ghana Human Rights Commission issued a report saying for the first time in 27 years we don't have safe houses anymore. Are we moving on to clean government intervention?
Maybe they are not aware. So if you want them to say that we have safe houses, what can tell them? Maybe they are not aware.
We still have safe houses, you say?
Why did the safe houses become an issue? They became an issue probably because there was a belief that human rights violations were taking place there. You never know, management could have changed. I really don't know why they have come to that kind of conclusion. Except if you want me to tell you that they are safe houses.
They said KCC runs one here behind the Sheraton Hotel.
I can give you one safe house.
Nicholas, you give us one.
I represent a client, without disclosing his name, who is a former rebel. And before he was arraigned before court, he was kept in a safe house in Kayunga. I can tell you the exact location. I mean, in Wakiso, the exact location. I can tell you who stays in that house and who guards it.
Safe houses still exist. Well, they also say for the first time they were allowed to go to the military.
How do you call torture chambers safe house?
They were allowed to. Well, that's terminology. We might not be able to rewrite the dictionary tonight. Let's talk about they were allowed the Human Rights Commission. They were allowed to go into military barracks eventually. Only 3 points they were not allowed to go into. What does that tell us briefly?
That they were allowed to go
to military barracks and to do what? At short notice. To look well at short notice. They could arrive at the gate and they would be allowed into.
But who is the chairperson of the Human Rights Commission? Honorable, do you know his history?
He was in the chair of the Constitutional Commission.
And he was the Minister of the State, Office of the President.
Yes.
And he was a member of Parliament. Kawemba. I think I was even with him in CA. Then later on was removed by.
He was in the Odoki Commission.
He was removed by Muda Wulira. That is his history. And what you now need to study is whether he's balanced. Whether he's balanced.
Well, but he's been issuing strong indictments. I've got reports from 2010 or 2009, I believe, and each of them has strong cases. This time, for the first time, they say there's no safe houses anymore. Right or wrong?
But he has told you. You see the problem. If I was asked to talk for safe houses, I would justify their existence.
All right.
Let me just make this point.
Because
What is important is that for 15 consecutive years, the Human Rights Commission has not failed to reproduce a human rights report, annual report, and that's a beautiful thing. No matter what its content, I think we've got to appreciate it. What is very clear in those reports is that the Human Rights Commission continues to lament about failures of compensation, about torture, about lots of things. I think for me the time has come for us to ask ourselves whether these reports serve any purpose in as far as reversing the trend is concerned. I think that these reports are good. They compile this information. We might use them later on, not now. But the fact that these reports are being ignored, for the first time anyway, a Human Rights Committee has been created in Parliament. Maybe, just maybe, these reports can be these reports can be discussed, and perhaps victims who have been awarded compensation by the Commission might get awarded.
Let's go to North Korea right now. The world is watching. War drums are being sounded. Some people think North Korea will not actually declare war. They will not attack anyone because they know they'll be bombed to smithereens, probably, to use that extreme statement. Do you think it's saber rattling, or do you think there's a real threat?
But before I go to that, I want to make one simple statement.
Can make that after the show.
And
after the show, let's talk about North Korea.
There is a deliberate effort, and I am worried. That's why I want, with all due respect.
Dr. Arthur, let's talk about North Korea.
No, I will talk about North Korea. Why are you worried? Why after you talking about the so-called madrasas as centers for
North Korea, Dr. Arthur, because of the time.
Why should I?
North Korea,
I think Imam will discuss afterwards. Do you have madrasa on this show? Let's talk about North Korea. North Korea.
Dr. Arthur.
Yes, my take is that actually North Korea will not attack the targets in the US. Neither will it attack South Korea for these reasons. First, because of the mutually assured destruction. And I know, of course, this is a young man, but I can assure you that they know that the second strike could wipe out North Korea, and that's the beauty actually of the nuclear deterrence. But what is likely to what they are trying to do actually is to flex their muscles, assert themselves, and then avert some situation inside. Actually, it's a diversion.
Internally, some people think there's a great deal of poverty there.
The world is at war. The world is at war. The question is what kind of war?
Yes.
I think that we are back to an era of arms war. Arms race. It's happening in the Middle East, Iran, Lebanon, Israel. It's happening now in the Korean Peninsula. You have Russia and the US. So that arms race is back, and is back in full force. The second point is the war that is being fought now may not be a physical war, but it's a cyber war. You heard about the hacking of state security websites in the US, in China, in Iran, in Russia. That war is at full throttle, and I think that we've got to realize it. What you see happening, and I don't think that the world is prepared or will actually go down the road of actual destruction, killing of people, nuclear weapons being dropped. We saw that what happened in Japan.
Hiroshima.
We are not going back there. What we are doing is posturing for power, showing arsenal, but fighting a simple cyber war.
China and Russia have condemned North Korea, and these have been its key allies.
Those are the last people talk about that. Now, very briefly, I would like us to talk about the Queen CR.
The axis, all the countries named in the axis of evil by President Bush have been attacked, save for Iran and North Korea. And what normally precedes the attack are sanctions, crippling sanctions. And apparently, Iran and North Korea are receiving crippling. For North Korea, by the way, it is worse. Now, the only way North Korea can survive is to show its capabilities in hitting America. But which it has done, because now America has diverted the missile defense shield for Europe to defend its own territory, because they have confirmed North Korea can hit its territory. Two, it has bases in Japan and it has bases in South Korea. And by the way, remember, technically they are at war. America failed to overrun North Korea. Between South Korea and South Korea are 300 land mines. It's what protects the troops of South Korea. It's not these machines. So
landmines were banned by the
yes, and North Korea is likely to be having a nuclear bomb, or is about to have a nuclear bomb. In the case China has them, so the only way North Korea can survive is to have a nuclear bomb that is ready for delivery, and at the same time show its capability and move towards that you will bring the other powers to the six-party talks. Otherwise, it's going to collapse as a state, which because they want to ferment internal rebellion, which they have fermented in Syria, and therefore it's possible that you can now have that.
The question was, are we going to have a nuclear? No, we are not going to have. But North Korea is going to collapse internally because of the internal contradictions and the great economic crisis that is going on.
Central African Republic, only you will talk to us about that. The collapse of the CR government in via coup. What do you think? What do you think is going to happen? The AU says they won't recognize them. They want elections swiftly. What ramifications do you have for us? Who are supposed to be running after?
I see a lot of irony within the AU. First, the man who was overthrown, that's Bozeze, came into power in 2003 through a military coup. So how they now condemn the new leader who is also overthrown, a dictator, it becomes a very contradictory thing. But anyway, the point is, African Union has taken a stand against military coups, and I think the stand now against this man is okay. They have given him 18 months, 18 or 20 months. It's 1 year and 8 months, and I think it's a good one. They should organize elections. But
meanwhile, you cannot attend AU summits.
Yeah, he cannot attend the AU summit, but I think something to be concerned about is also the security.
We have to go. Thank you very much indeed, dear guest, Dr. Arthur Bainomugisha, head of the Peace and Security Program at ACODE, also lecturer in Makerere of Peace and Security. Thank you for coming. Spectrum. Honorable Charles Rwomushana, former head of political intelligence at State House, also a former Constituent Assembly delegate. Mr. Nicholas Opiyo, legal consultant at AKIJUL, also a commentator on social and political affairs. Imam Kasozi, Muslim cleric and lecturer at the Islamic University in Uganda. Thank you for tuning in. I've been your host, Edmund Kizito. Spectrum. We'll be back on Monday. Right now, you can hear the news in English. Have a very good weekend.
Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90.